whether the team is performing clean or unsightly. We'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So finally, the NFL decides enough is enough. 20-plus players on 3 different teams have been ruled out of Sunday's games because of positive COVID tests. And so finally, the NFL decided to postpone 3 different games. Washington versus Philadelphia being one of the 3. Rams, Seahawks being another. And Browns, Raiders also postponed. The Browns-Raiders game was the first domino to fall because that game was on Saturday. They pushed that game back to Monday. Meanwhile, the Seattle Seahawks and the Rams and the Washington game versus the Eagles have all been pushed back to Tuesday, 7 p. So, obviously, the game we care about is the one that will take place in Philadelphia at the Link on Tuesday now, postponed from Sunday at 1:05 p. And so I'm excited about the development. I mean, honestly, I was prepared to come up here and tell you guys that we were going to get drubbed 27-6 was going to be my final score. And we were going to get worked and they were going to dominate us. And it wasn't going to be close. And it would have been a really disappointing way to end a season because let's be honest, if we lose the game to the Eagles, you drop to 6-8, you could conceivably bounce back, win 3 straight, go 9-8 and make the playoffs, but that's highly unlikely. I mean, who are we kidding, right? This situation isn't ideal regardless of them postponing the game or not. Let's keep it a buck. The fact that they're postponing this game only gives us a fighting chance to get some of these guys back. Now, even if we get some of them back, who's to say what kind of condition they're going to be in? Who's to say they're going to be ready to come back and give us quality snaps right out of the gate? I mean, some of these guys haven't practiced, haven't done anything football related in over a week. So who's to say they come back and they're ready to jump right in the fray and really help us win? But I'd much rather go that route. I'd much rather have those guys than not have those guys. Literally, we had 41 active players on a 53-man active roster going into Friday's practice. Like, this is asinine. I'm glad the NFL stepped in and did the right thing. I didn't think they were going to do it, to be honest with you. You know, I thought they were going to force the Browns to play tomorrow. I thought they were going to force us and the Rams to play on Sunday. And they were going to just say, hey, look, we told you guys before the season started, this is what was going to happen. But the only reason I think they had sympathy on any of these teams, including us, was the Omicron. It really changed the way they viewed everything because they didn't see this variant coming. And even guys that are vaccinated, that have done everything the right way, have gotten this thing. And it's highly transmissible. And I think the NFL said, okay, you guys did everything we asked you to do. And this is kind of out of your control. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to extend an olive branch here and allow you guys to try to get some of these players back. They've already gotten the NFL's already gotten with the NFLPA, as we talked about yesterday, and come together to agree to terms on new protocols that will allow players to test out of the positive COVID test realm and get back onto the field faster if they're vaccinated and have a negative and then another negative, whether it be a rapid or another negative test altogether. So at the end of the day, this is going to give us a chance to potentially get some of these guys back, including our starting quarterback. That was the final straw that broke the camel's back. Like, I was prepared to go into this thing and fight with Taylor Heineke under center. Once you told me you got no Kyle Allen and now you don't have any Taylor Heineke, and you're telling me I got to go out there with Kyle Shermer as the starter, and if anything were to happen to him, and who knows, they signed Garrett Gilbert. He might have been able to come in here. Remember, he started a game for the Cowboys and almost upset the Steelers last year. So he was thinking that he may get the nod, being that he's a veteran quarterback, had been in the Panthers system before. He might have been the guy getting the start on Sunday. It wasn't an ideal situation. I thought it was going to lead to us getting our asses kicked. Now the NFL is giving us an opportunity. I know the Eagles, the Raiders, and the Seahawks all aren't happy about this development. Who cares what they think? We've been in this position before. That's the beauty of it, is that this will not be foreign to us. This is not uncharted territory. We played in a game that was postponed last year because of the Steelers-Ravens game having a similar situation, having their game pushed back to a Wednesday, and then our game and because of it with the Steelers, the following week was pushed to the following Monday. So we've been in this position before, and so we won't be unnerved by all of the happenings. But what this means is that a guy like Montez Sweat, and I talked about this, he was going to be potentially available to come back whether this game got postponed or not. They're saying right now that if he tests negative on Saturday and then has another negative test Sunday, which he could have gotten a rapid test on Sunday, he might have been able to play this week because he would have been 10 days removed from the positive test. James Smith-Williams, same thing. He might have been able to play. He's going to potentially test, not necessarily have to test out, but his 10-day hiatus will be up and he'll be eligible by Tuesday. Some of these other guys, however, who just got into the protocol, like a Taylor Heineke, like a Kyle Allen, some of those guys, they have to test out. They won't be able to get to that 10-day threshold before Tuesday. So that's the beauty of the situation, is that we may get some of those guys back that wouldn't have been available to us because the game would have been played on Sunday and they wouldn't have been able to test out. Now some of these guys may be able to test out with a negative test, being asymptomatic and also being vaccinated, which most of these guys are vaccinated. Like Kendall Fuller, he's going to miss the game. He's not vaccinated. He's going to miss the game. He can't test out of the protocol because he's not vaccinated. But you have to meet all of the protocol, all of the different prerequisites to be able to test out, which is being vaccinated, having no symptoms, being asymptomatic, and then having negative tests. So we'll see what happens. This just gives us a fighting chance. Them pushing this game back, which it was getting ridiculous. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at the list, because yesterday I came on here, I did a video, and I talked about how we needed to stop the bleeding. We needed to stop the swelling. Can't do surgery if there's swelling. You got to get the swelling down first, meaning we needed to stop having positive tests first. Then we could start talking about getting guys back. And I was excited because at the time of the video, we hadn't had a positive test that day. Soon as I finished the video, literally soon as I hit stop on the video, we literally had 3 more guys, including Cam Curl and Cornelius Lucas, test positive and end up on the COVID list. So that list ballooned to 20, I think it was 21 players. We're now at 23 guys. We had 2 more today, including Taylor Heineke. So we now had 7 straight days of positive tests. I told you I didn't think that number would stop at 18 2 days ago. I said, I don't think this is the last we'll hear of guys, because it's hard for me to believe that if you're a quarterback and you're in that room with Kyle Allen and he's got COVID and you're sitting right next to him consistently, you're talking to him, he's your buddy, it's hard for me to fathom you don't have COVID as well. It's just hard for me to have my brain reconcile that. It's hard for me to sit there and believe that he didn't have COVID, and he did. I figured that would happen. So it's a crazy situation that we're in. Let's take a look at the 23 guys that had tested positive for COVID, and if this game were played on Sunday, probably weren't going to be able to play. So this is where we're at with it right now. Taylor Heineke, Kyle Allen, your top 2 quarterbacks on your roster, both would have been out. You got Cornelius Lucas. I talked about having depth and getting Sam Cosmi back and Cornelius Lucas going back to the bench, and that's a great feeling, knowing that if something were to happen to one of our tackles, Cole Luke could step in. Well, he wouldn't have been able to step in for a damn thing because he had COVID. Remember, this is the second time he's gotten COVID. Remember, he had COVID in the summertime, which is what allowed Sam Cosmi to jump out in front and ultimately win the starting right tackle job. He had a birthday party right before training camp and ended up getting COVID. So this is the second time Cornelius Lucas has tested positive. Tyler Larson. Doesn't matter. He's on IR anyway, and I think he hurt his Achilles, so he's irrelevant at this point. But he has it as well. Not to sound morbid, but Sammy's Reyes, Tamarick Hemingway, both of those guys at the tight end position, COVID-19 positive. Cam Sims was a hurtful one when we didn't know if Terry was going to play. Still don't know if Terry's going to be ready to go on Tuesday. It's looking more like that will happen now. More time is a good thing for a guy like Terry, who wasn't dealing with COVID, but rather dealing with an injury. But Cam Sims tested positive. Wendell Smallwood, who helped us against the Vegas Raiders when we were on the road, he tested positive. This is where the biggest hit to the roster has taken place, down on the defensive line. Jonathan Allen, Matt Ioannidis, Tim Settle, and Daniel Wise all tested positive on the defensive line. At defensive tackle, Meanwhile, Montez Sweat, who was the first person to test positive, James Smith-Williams and Casey Toohill were the two to follow. Remember, Casey Toohill was James Smith-Williams was Saturday before the Cowboys game. Casey Toohill the morning of the Cowboys game on Sunday. And then the rest of these guys just continued to chime in. William Bradley King, another defensive end. So 8 guys on the defensive line, 4 defensive tackles, 4 defensive ends on the COVID-19/reserve list. Khaleke Hudson, who's dealing with an injury, was on IR anyway. He's on the COVID-19 list along with David Mayo. Milo Effler, who we don't even know who that is. I didn't even know he was on the roster until he got COVID-19. Cam Curl was just added yesterday. That was a big blow to us. Derek Forrest, Kendall Fuller, and Troy Apke make up the list of the 23 players currently on the COVID-19 reserve list for this football team. So needless to say, we were struggling to even field a team, and I'm glad the NFL intervened. So what does this mean now? Okay, so yeah, the game's on Tuesday at 7 p. What does this mean? What it means is that it'll give us an opportunity, if we can't get Taylor Heineke back because he tested positive today, so the window for him is a little bit condensed. Even moving it to Tuesday still may not give him enough time to test negative, but it will give a guy like Kyle Allen, who tested positive back on like Monday, a chance to maybe test negative a couple of times and be ready to go and give us a credible starting quarterback for Tuesday's game. We'll see. That's the biggest thing I'm concerned about at this point. I mean, it is what it is. We're going to get some guys back. It's not a matter of if we're going to get guys back. It's just how many. The real question is how many more are going to test positive before we can start. Again, I harken back to what I said before. Before we can start talking about surgery, which is putting this roster back together and having a semblance of a team to put on the field against the Philadelphia Eagles in Week 15, before we can start having that conversation, we got to first stop putting guys on the COVID-19 reserve list. That's got to happen first. We've got to stop having positive tests before we can start talking about guys getting negatives and getting back. So until that happens, until we actually go a full 24 hours without adding another guy, it's hard for me to be optimistic about anything that's transpiring. But this is good news that they're pushing the game back. That said, it's going to give us an opportunity to get some guys back. But this has far-reaching consequences. Again, I've been bitching and moaning and complaining about the off time for teams playing against us. Going back to week 13 against Vegas, they had 10 days off playing on Thanksgiving against Dallas. The following week, Dallas played on a Thursday night. And then the next week, we had Dallas. They had 10 days off. They were very healthy when they came and saw us, and they kicked our ass. And then now we talked about the Eagles having a full bye week and having 2 weeks off and 2 weeks to prepare for us. And we're battered and bruised, and now we're dealing with COVID. We're going to have guys come back, and we're going to be able to at least be competitive. I don't know where the mindset of this team is, and without practice time, it's going to be really tough to see us go on the road and find a way to get it done. That said, this game could count twice against us, because not only could we lose to the Eagles, and right now, more probably than not, more likely than not, we will lose to the Eagles, even though they're pushing this game back to Tuesday, which gives us a shot. You're going to have to turn around. There's precedence that's already been set. You're going to have to turn around and play your next game on Sunday. They're not pushing that game back to accommodate us. Last year, we had multiple games played on Tuesdays, okay? The one notable game that I harken back to and use as an example is the Dallas Cowboys had to play the Baltimore Ravens that same week that I talked about, where we had to play the Pittsburgh Steelers on a Monday because the Steelers and the Ravens had to play on a Wednesday because the Ravens had an outbreak last year. And our game with the Steelers from a Sunday got pushed to a Monday, and that was an epic win for us. And then the Dallas game against the Ravens the following week, they got pushed to Tuesday. So that next week, the Ravens played on Sunday. Okay? Now, I think Dallas played on Sunday. They played Cincinnati the following week and won. Meanwhile, the Ravens had a Monday night game, so it kind of worked out for them. But Dallas didn't get the benefit of the doubt. They went and played a Tuesday game and then had to turn around and play a Sunday game. Like, the NFL's not going to compensate us. They're not going to go out of their way to make sure this schedule makes sense for us. We're going to play on Tuesday, and then we're going to have a short week. We're going to be battered and bruised, and we're going to have to turn around and play Dallas again. So this has far-reaching consequences. It puts us in a really tough bind and tough spot. Again, I talked about this earlier in the week, how how optimistic we were going into the Dallas game, and now you come full circle a week later. We've made a full 180-degree turn on the season from 6-6 and talking reckless about winning the division and maybe getting the fifth seed if we can't capture the division, getting a wild card, but not just getting any wild card, not getting the 7, not getting the 6, but potentially catching the Rams and getting the 5, to now saying we'd be lucky to not finish this season on a 5-game losing streak. I mean, honestly, that's where we're at. When you look at the circumstances that's in front of us, you've got the Eagles here in a situation where you may get some guys back, you may not get some guys back, but those guys that do come back haven't practiced all week. Some of these guys haven't played in multiple weeks, like Montez Sweat, for instance. I mean, how much are you truly going to get out of Montez Sweat, who hasn't really practiced in forever, hasn't been in football shape because he hasn't played in over a month? How many snaps are you really, truly going to get out of Montez Sweat? How good is he going to be? How effective could he possibly be coming back and having not played and practiced and gotten his wind under him, legs under him and wind? How much could you expect from him? Some of these guys don't need a ton of practice time to go out and execute. Like Kyle Allen, yeah, you'd love him to get some reps. You'd love him to get some timing with the players and things of that nature. But he's been in the system. He knows these guys. He can go out and help us if he should be able to be activated off of this list. But, some of these other guys, you're like, I don't really know what to expect if these guys come back. So it's a tough situation. And then you got to turn around and play Dallas again, 5 days later. It's one thing we complain about when you play on a Monday night and you got to turn around and play on a Sunday. This is Tuesday. You got to turn around and play on a Sunday. So, and you got to go on the road, no less. You got to travel to Dallas. This is not a home game. So it's going to be tough. I think that, it'd be epic if we could find a way to win. We'll discuss that next week. But one thing's for sure, this game needed to be postponed. The right thing was done. The NFL made the right call. They begrudgingly did it, but they did the right thing. And so it'll give us a chance to compete and have an opportunity against the Eagles team that I think is very beatable. And we'll see what happens. We'll let the chips fall where they may, and then we'll have to regroup quickly because then we have the Cowboys in 5 days. It's not an ideal situation, and it doesn't help us in any stretch of the imagination, but you take the situation as it comes. You play the cards that are dealt. This is where we are. We'll see what happens. But I'm glad the NFL postponed this game because had we had to play this game on Sunday, we wouldn't have been competitive. I don't see how we would have been able to be competitive after the latest rounds of positive COVID-19 tests, including our starting quarterback, Taylor Heineke. So let's get to in other news real quick. And I just want to take a look at the injury report. We did have practice despite the game being postponed because we didn't know it was going to be postponed at the time that we had practice. We just were assuming that the game was going to be played on Sunday. So I want to just take a quick look at the injury report. So what you see here is Jordan K was a full participant. That's great news. So more likely than not, barring something happened with him, he'll be able to go on Tuesday. And that's great news because our special teams unit has been severely weakened due to all of the COVID-19 positives. J.D. McKissick was another DNP. I don't think he's going to play personally, but more time is good time for J.D. McKissick. But that was a significant concussion, as you can see, the fact that we're now 3 weeks removed from that concussion. Remember, this concussion was sustained at the end of the Monday night game versus the Seahawks, all the way back in week 12. And here we are now heading into week 15 and still no sign of J.D. McKissick, and he's missed 2 straight ball games. And doesn't look like he's going to make it for the 3rd straight week now with this concussion. Meanwhile, Terry has practiced for the 3rd straight day, or 2nd straight day, on a limited basis, which is a great sign. He's trending in the right direction. But again, we thought the same thing from J.D. McKissick last week. He was a limited participant all last week and then didn't play on Sunday. So more time, just like with J.D. McKissick, more time is good time for Terry. I think he's trending towards playing on Tuesday. Curtis Samuel, I've already ruled him out of this game with the hamstring, even though he was on the side field on Thursday, didn't practice on Friday. I don't think a few days is going to make any difference in him playing. I think he's out with the hamstring, and you know how I feel about him at this point. Cole Holcomb and Brandon Sheriff with ankle injuries, both full participants. I already told you those guys were going to play, so there's really nothing to see there. As far as the Eagles are concerned, there's nothing to see here either. Every single guy on the injury report was a full participant and ready to go for Sunday's game, including quarterback Jalen Hurts. I told you guys we're going to get every single body back for the Eagles, and they're going to be ready and chomping at the bit to get at us because they're coming off of a bye week, which is unfortunate that we continue to get teams getting healthy. But it is what it is. You know, can't cry over spilt milk. I want the Eagles at their best because I don't want any excuses. You know, should we beat them? I don't want to hear anybody's mouth. You're not going to hear my mouth if they beat us, because if they beat us, they beat us. You know what I mean? This is what we are at this point of the season, but I damn sure don't want to hear their mouth if we beat them. Oh, we didn't have this player or that player, because, you know, that's what people like to do when they lose games. We didn't have this guy or we didn't have that guy. Well, they got everybody. So no excuses on the Eagles front. Everybody's healthy and going to play against us on Tuesday night, 7 p.m. So that's where we are with this situation. It's crazy. It's not ideal. I mean, honestly, yikes. You know, I never imagined this thing getting to where it's at right now, where we're up to 23 players on the, you know, COVID-19 reserve list. You know, and some of those guys on the list, like Khaleke Hudson and Tyler Larson, they weren't going to play. They're on IR. They weren't coming back anyway, right? But, you know, for the rest of those guys, you know, that's, you know, upwards of 20 guys that literally were, you know, able-bodied, ready to go, was able to help us a week ago or so, and haven't been able to, you know, practice or, you know, be able to suit up and play. It's crazy where we are right now. I mean, we talked about this already. I don't want to belabor the point, but you got guys off the street. Like, literally, Garrett Gilbert was like, I was giving my daughter a bath, and my wife brings me my phone, and I got 25 missed calls, and here I am today practicing with the chance to start on Sunday. I mean, are you kidding me? We're 6-7, and we're fighting for a playoff spot, and the guy was giving his daughter a bath, and the next day, he may be our starting quarterback? Give me a break. So I'm glad the NFL postponed this game. It gives us a fighting chance. It gives Terry more time to heal. It gives Montez Sweat another opportunity to get back. It gives Jonathan Allen an opportunity to get back. James Smith-Williams, Casey Tuhill. We could get a semblance of our defensive line back. We could get some of these other guys. Cam Sims may be back. You know, there's some guys that are a little dicey, like Taylor Heineke, Cam Curl, who you could argue is our best defensive player. These guys just tested positive literally yesterday. So the likelihood is that I don't know if there's going to be enough time elapsed for them to then test negative and be asymptomatic. We will see. But for the guys that tested positive earlier in the week, like Kyle Allen and Jonathan Allen, those guys have a fighting chance. James Smith-Williams, Casey Tuhill, those guys have a fighting chance to be back before Tuesday's game, and that's going to give us an opportunity. Even if it's a small one, it's a much better one than what we would have had this game been played when it was regularly scheduled for Sunday at 1:05. So the NFL did us a solid. Now let's see what we do with this opportunity that they've given us. The first thing we need to do is stop having positive tests, and then we can start talking about getting some guys back. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. At least you get to enjoy football this weekend. You get to watch, you know, the Cowboys destroy the Giants. I really think this is a week where a lot of the teams that are chasing us, they're going to lose. We're going to get to watch the Saints lose to the Buccaneers more likely than not. They're chasing us. I think the Vikings are going to lose to the Bears on Monday night. They shouldn't lose that game, but Kirk Cousins struggles with the Bears. I think the Bears are playing with a little bit more confidence. If they play the way they played against Green Bay on Sunday night, they should beat the Vikings on Monday night. I think they're going to lose. The 49ers, I'm not too concerned with the 49ers because they can make the playoffs and we can make the playoffs. Like, they don't have to get out of our way. I would like to have the 6th seed, but at this point, with all the situation, all the injuries, all the COVID shit that we're dealing with, I just want in. 7 seed, 6 seed, I really, at this point, don't give a shit. I just want in, right? So the 49ers, they have a tough game this week, though, one that I think they could lose. Ultimately, I think they're going to win. I forget who they're playing this week, but it is a losable football game, but I think they may ultimately win. We'll see. At the end of the day, I said all of that to say this. Everybody that is chasing us, the Falcons, the Vikings, the Saints, all these teams that are 6-7 and are right there, they all have losable football games that they probably could and should probably lose. Meanwhile, we got the team that's staring us right in the face at 6-7 in the Eagles. We can take care of our own business, but again, it's going to be pretty damn tough to do that. But at least you'll get to watch all of this, even the Monday night game with the Vikings. We'll get to watch everybody, and we'll know where we stand going into our game on Tuesday. So enjoy the football. We'll come back and we'll break all of this down. We'll have our keys to victory on Monday, and so we'll just extend it out an extra day. But enjoy your weekend. We'll come back and do this again on Monday, and hopefully we'll have better news then. It's just been crazy this week, man. And every time I think something's done, more bad news comes out. Finally, we get some good news with this postponement. Now can we start to get some of these guys back? Sounds like Montez Sweat is on the cusp. You listen to Ron Rivera, who said, hey, he's reached his 10-day limit. Now he's just got to come in here, test positive. He's been on all the Zoom meetings, and he's been staying in shape and working out. So we know that he's ready to go once he gets back here. He just needs to test negative. We'll see if he does that or not. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, hail to our beloved burgundy and gold. Man, it has been a whirlwind of a week, but we have a chance. I said it yesterday. I'll say it again. So you're telling me there's a chance, and this postponement means there's really going to be a chance. We still got to get a quarterback back. Like, they could push the game back to Tuesday. If we're still starting Garrett Gilbert, we're in trouble. All right. If we're starting Kyle Shermer, we're still in trouble. We have to get one of these quarterbacks back, preferably Taylor Heineke and Kyle Allen back. But just give me one of these guys. That'll at least give us a fighting chance. You know what this reminds me of? When our season was starting to spiral out of control back in 2018 when Alex Smith got injured, and we had one last-ditch effort against the Eagles on a Monday night with Colt McCoy. And I remember doing a video called, Goat McCoy is going to lead us to the playoffs. And he breaks his ankle literally in the first quarter of that game. Adrian Peterson has this ridiculous 91-yard touchdown run, but that was it. The Eagles spanked us, and they went on to make the postseason. We went on to, I think, win one more game against the Jacksonville Jaguars the remainder of the season. It was an abysmal finish to that season. This feels like that, right? Going to the Monday night, on a Tuesday night, going to Philadelphia, got issues with the quarterback position, issues all over the place. Season seems like it's starting to teeter out of control, and the Eagles may be able to put that final finishing blow on us like they did back in 2018. It feels that way. I hope it's not that way. We'll see if it's that way or not. Just enjoy the weekend. I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to enjoy the weekend, and then we'll come back and we'll assess the damage on Monday. You guys have a good one. Man, oh man. My mind's playing tricks on me. Here
comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30.